Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk some Packers and talk some draft. Gents, how we doing up there in the great state of Wisconsin?
It's a beautiful day. A little bit of snow tonight coming through Green Bay, though. We'll take it.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Had a big election here, so if you had time, probably got out and did some voting. So yeah, it's been good. Yeah, a little bit of bad weather blowing in right now, but that's the price you pay.
That's right.
Yeah, we're looking for 50s over here, and Clayton, you're getting some 80s, I hear.
Crazy, man. It's tomorrow 77, then 85, 86, and 88. 88 degrees.
We'll catch up to you in a couple of months.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Let's go to the chat real quick. We got a couple people in here. Prince says 3 of 7 top 30 visits have been edge. Goody, quote, "We are not interested in chasing pass rushers." Lying season indeed. So, and here's Ryan did a good job kind of hitting on this earlier. I think it was today's pod. When he says, he likes the room we've got, I believe him. I'm just telling you, man. Like, Ryan did a great job breaking down the numbers. When you actually look at how these pass rushers performed, and then you couple that with what we showed on Chalk Talk all year long, which, by the way, you can get, I think, weeks 1 through 5 in the Patreon group. I'm going to try to do 2 or 3 more weeks tomorrow. You'll see exactly what we're talking about, how it was a controlled pass rush keyed in on stopping the run. And, if it was something where all 4 pass rushers were constantly pinning their ears back and the numbers weren't maybe as good, I'd be more concerned. But that's why I'm focused on 3-tech, because Kenny's the one who struggled.
Yep.
But also Kenny's getting older, and also Kenny's cap hit is extremely high. So we got to try to find that other 3-tech to go with Devontae White. I think they see Devontae White in the future. I really do. I think they want to re-sign him or give him the 5th-year option and use that as a bridge to re-sign him. I think that's probably a route that they're going to be going. And then you draft another 3-tech, whether it's in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round, because this is a defensive tackle and edge rusher heavy draft. And then that's the guy who's in place to step in for Kenny as Kenny moves on from Green Bay. So, but again, it's going to come down to how the board falls. That's what it is. And in terms of looking at the pass rushers, if you look at the pass rushers they've met with, I don't think it's about we got to draft one in the 1st round, although they probably love to do that. I think what they're looking at with these specific pass rushers, think about who they are. It was James Pierce Jr., right? A guy who's people were worried, is he too small? There might be character issues, all these things. And we debunked the character issues, in my opinion. Now, some people could disagree. That's okay. I think they want to get him in there because it's like, hey, this dude could be a stud, but also that could be a big bust. Let's go meet with him. Same thing with Shamar Stewart. Crazy upside. I mean, just insane upside with the physical attributes, the traits that he's got, but he can't rush the passer. Let's get him in the building and see if he's a guy we want to work with. Like, hey, this dude could be like a sponge. But on top of that, think about what you do when you draft an edge defender in the 1st round. We drafted Lucas Van Ness 13th. He didn't immediately play a huge role, right? We drafted Rashawn Gary early in the 1st, if I remember correctly, fairly early. He didn't play a huge role because we have Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith. The MO, you've got to go off precedent. And the MO with the Green Bay Packers is you're not drafting a rookie to just come in and light the world on fire. That's just not how it works. If it happens, great. If they show us enough in training camp, mini camps, training camp, and of course practice in the regular season, you go, we cannot keep this guy off the field. So be it. But you've got another guy in Brenton Cox Jr. that's behind, your top edge defenders. And again, I think it's going to come down to best player available. I don't know if you guys got anything on that in terms of those top 30 visits. And I think many people were just settling in on Goody's going to take an edge rusher in the 1st round. I think there's a really good chance of it, but I don't think it's a slam dunk either. It depends on how the board falls.
I would agree. And I think, to Prince's point, lying season, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We're not interested in chasing pass rushers. We're happy with the guys that we have. I think if anything, it's him, lion season in the sense of like throw guys off the scent, like never let them know what your plans are.
Right.
But I think both can be true, right? Goody can be happy with this room that we have when it comes to the pass rushers, especially the edge group, and also want to get better. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if we went 3 tech and edge early, and maybe often. Maybe it's 2 edge and a 3 tech, or it's 2 defensive tackles and a monster edge rusher, something like that. I believe all those things can be true. You can feel good about the personnel you have and still want to load up and get better. We felt good about our quarterback room when we drafted Aaron Rodgers, and we felt good about our quarterback room when we drafted Jordan Love. And this applies to multiple position groups across the board. You can always get better. There's no such thing as it being a bad thing to have depth. And most guys, I don't care what round you're drafted in, most guys, like you said, Clayton, they don't come into the league and play 550 snaps right out of the gate. It takes time to mold these guys. So I think both can be true, really.
Yeah, and I think fans don't want to hear that, but it is what it is. Drew D says he met with a couple of high edge, right? Yeah, he met with, like we said, in terms of top 30 visits, James Pierce Jr., who's 12th on our board, and then Shamar Stewart, who is 15th on our board. Those are top 30 visits. And Michael Williams in the 22 spot out of Georgia. Now, again, if those top 2 guys fall to you, right, you better have your damn information in line on whether or not you want that to be the pick or not, because there's a chance both of those guys could fall just because they're not these well-crafted pass rushers. They're just physical freaks. But go ahead, Jacob. What's your take on this, man?
Yeah, I did. If you haven't listened to Ryan's pod from this morning, excuse me, it's really worth listening to, because he does talk about how, in his theory, there was a defensive coach situation that wasn't great. Obviously, you had the new situation with Hafley trying to get their feet wet and get into the groove there. But when you highlight specifically what they did on the back end, they had guys like, Gary was, I believe, around 16 or 17%. It was LVN was at like 15%. Wyatt was at 15 or 16%. My boy Brenton Cox Jr. was sniffing 19%, guys. And it just is kind of, and Kingsley, had an off year, but he even showed some numbers on the back end. And the 2 biggest pieces that weren't performing was, unfortunately, TJ Slayton in a pass rushing role and Kenny Clark, which obviously both of those are either been dealt with or going to be dealt with. I think that what the monster aggressor UFO says here, says based off what Goody said, so edge would just be a depth piece in later rounds. So meaning that a D tackle or wide receiver or corner is a priority. I think that's a decent generalization, but like you said, Clayton, it just depends on the way the board falls. You can't sit here and say, well, this is going to happen in the first, this is going to happen in the second. I think a more fair statement is to say, if this does happen in the first, then this in the second is more likely. But to just say this is going to happen in the first, this is going to happen in the third, he won't look this way until the fourth at this position. You have no way of knowing that. So
yeah, it's just I laughed, and this is no way a shot at UFO. It's just amazing how we can all hear the same thing and think he means something totally different. But that's the beautiful thing about being a fan and everybody having differing opinions. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But as you can see here, here's our PTA big board. And by the way, shout out to Emilio. He may be joining us shortly. He actually added an updated version of this in the Patreon group just a few minutes ago. He added one earlier today. I'm like, hey, man, I just added in about 6 different Greg Cosell bonuses. That's really shuffled it around. So you guys have access to that in the Patreon group. Just scan the QR code in the upper right or go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. So James Pierce Jr., like we said, in the 12 spot. Then it's Shamar Stewart in the 15 spot. And then it is Mike Green in the 20 spot. Then Michael Williams in the 22 spot. And then the next top 30 visit that's highest on our board is Savone Revel Jr. in the 25 spot, which really cool hearing Greg Cosell talk about him. Only gave a 3-point bonus for Savone Revel. But the reason being is he was like, this guy, this is what Greg Cosell said. Savone Revel might be the best press man corner in this entire draft, but he needs to learn how to play zone. and reading route concepts and all that stuff. So I gave him a 3-point bonus as opposed to 5. I was like, man, we might give him a 7. And by the time he was done with the whole, he's used to playing man coverage, it's going to take some time to adapt to that. Trying to play off and play zone. We just kind of settled into a 3-point bonus there. So anyway, anything you guys want to see on this before we move to the next topic and kind of get into some of the most recent reports from our boy Easton Butler talking about who the Packers have met with here recently? We good on this?
I mean, Easton Butler's always got gold, so we should keep it moving. Yeah, for sure.
He messaged me right before I went live and said, hey, I've got several more I'm just waiting for confirmation on, so we'll keep our ear to the streets.
That's one of the reasons you should follow him, is because he waits for confirmation. He's not just gonna clickbait you to death. If he's posting something, it's 99.9% accurate for sure.
Yeah, and we were gonna have Baz on tonight, but he had to reschedule last second. I think he's planning on coming on tomorrow night. Although I'm not gonna hold his feet to the fire. He's very busy. I told him, hey man, we're live every night. You want to hop on for 20 minutes whenever you can? It's cool. So we'll have him on, get his draft takes here pretty soon as well. So Easton Butler tweeted out, New Hampshire defensive end Josiah Silver met with the Packers, 49ers, and Patriots and Ravens at his pro day. So a New Hampshire defensive end is
New Hampshire
on the target list here. Next, we have New Mexico State defensive end Kel Edwards met with the Packers at his pro day. All right. So, and you can tell by these guys' build when it says defensive end, you look at the build, these are edge defenders, no doubt. Okay. Next, you've got Holy Cross wide receiver Justin Shorter met with the Ravens, Packers, Niners, and Patriots at his pro day. And then Easton Butler had tweeted out St. Norbert.
There we go.
If you guys don't know what St. Norbert College is, maybe you're not from the Green Bay area. The main reason I know about it is because that's where Lombardi for the long, he had his players dorm there, bunk there for training camp, right? At St. Norbert. And am I thinking right? Is it down toward Alloway or is it further away, Tim? I was thinking
St. Norbert's De Pere area.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. Yeah, so it's basically south of Ashwaubenon where Lambeau is, but pretty cool, man. That would be awesome if they go and sign a UDFA from St. Norbert. I'll be pulling for him the whole way. But anyways, wide receiver tight end Mitch Van Vuren, I think I'm saying that right, met with the Packers at the CGS All-Star game earlier this year. Van Vuren also received an invite to the Packers local pro day last week.
Let's go. D3, let's go. Receiver / tight end, probably a receiver.
There you go. So there's the latest in terms of visits for the Packers. Anything you guys want to add to that? Obviously, you have 2 or 3 edge defenders there. You had a couple of wide receivers. One was a tight end wide receiver hybrid type guy. So
shout out to Joyce Martha. She says she's an alumni, St. Norbert. Congrats. That is awesome. That's awesome. Love it.
Nerd.
All right, let's jump into one of the first pieces we're going to get into tonight. This was really interesting. There was something that came across Twitter earlier today. It was actually this morning. I think I tweeted it out and it got a little bit of play. But Tet McMillan, there's a video going around of him sitting and eating lunch, it looks like. And it almost looks like a Veritas style video, like somebody's filming it from the bottom of the table. And I don't know if he knew they were filming, but it's basically him saying that he said that he doesn't like to watch football. He doesn't even like to watch film on the game. And immediately everybody's like, this is what we're talking about. He's loving. It was from 2 years ago. It's always remarkable to me how these videos surface right before the draft that someone has been holding on to for 2 freaking years. It's absolutely hilarious. So I went and done a little bit of digging here. I'm sorry, Bucket Goldenberg went and done some digging.
Bucket Goldenberg with the report live on PTA Patreon.
He's always got the scoop.
So Tetairoa McMillan, character concerns or NFL draft noise. Tet McMillan, the standout wide receiver from the Arizona Wildcats, currently sits as the 5th best prospect on our PTA big board. That's right. You heard it right. He is now in the 5 spot on our big board for the 2025 NFL draft with an impressive college stat line, 3,423 receiving yards, and a reputation for game-breaking ability. He's been a name to watch. Former NFL player and analyst Ross Tucker recently called McMillan, quote, a slam dunk top prospect earlier this year, praising his size, hands, and upside. Ross actually went on to say, But now all of a sudden whispers of doubt have crept into the conversation. And basically he's like, it's amazing how we haven't played any football. And all of a sudden now he's dropping on lists. And he mentioned that to Greg Cosell, and Greg Cosell laughed it off as well. It says, but now all of a sudden whispers of doubt have crept into the conversation despite zero football being played since the season ended. What's behind the shift? Are there character issues, real character issues, or is it just pre-draft chatter? Let's break down the incidents or lack thereof tied to McMillan. So no documented incidents. A deep dive into McMillan's past reveals no red flags. There's no report of legal trouble, team suspensions, or public missteps from his high school or college days. On paper, he's a clean prospect with a track record of production. So Warren Sharp, that's the video I'm talking about. Look how it's filmed. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's just really strange. But anyway, Warren Sharp tweeted, and I really respect Warren Sharp for doing this. He said, a clip video from a podcast is making its rounds showing wide receiver Tet McMillan saying, quote, I don't watch football. I don't like watching film either. The host said it was from the off season, quote, okay, as if it were a recent recording. I want to clear this up. The video was filmed 2 years ago after his freshman year when he was 19. He talked on the full behind-the-scenes video, link below, which he linked it to the tweet, published in April 2023, about how his goal is a 1,000-yard season. He then recorded back-to-back 1,300-yard seasons. McMillan will turn 22 next week. He's probably changed a bit since spring 2023. And regardless of his current 2025 take on watching football/film. Just wanted to clarify the video was not McMillan talking this offseason, but a 19-year-old after his freshman year several years.
So in other words, can I interest you in a nothing burger? Would you like a side of fries with your nothing burger?
It's just insane, man. Film watching comments, 2023 interview. The one ripple in McMillan's otherwise smooth profile comes from a 2023 interview that resurfaced in 2025. He admitted he didn't enjoy watching football on a film, only doing so when coaches require it. Some scouts and fans have spun this into a narrative about work ethic or passion, but it's a single comment, not an incident. On the field, his 2024 stats, assuming continued excellence, suggests he's still putting in the work where it counts. Then a clean reputation. It says scouting reports from outlets like NFL Draft Buzz and Bleacher Report consistently paint McMillan as a low-risk character prospect. No disciplinary actions, no locker room drama, just a 6'5" target who dominated Pac-12 defenses. The, quote, character issue label seems more speculative than substantiated. So you see the RAS here. It's incomplete, but he came in at 6'4", 219 pounds at the combine, both scoring nines, 40-yard dash of 4.53 with arm length 31.5 inches and hand size of 10 inches. A 10-yard split of 1.58 and a 20-yard split of 2.62. Now, it goes on to say Tet McMillan's full injury history. While McMillan's character concerns appear minimal, his physical durability has occasionally come under scrutiny. Here's a comprehensive look at the injury history based on available reports. Before we move into that, I want to get your all's take on this, Tim. I think we got your take. Jacob, what do you think? Is this a big nothing burger, or does this worry you?
I personally don't care about that whatsoever. I believe that I saw a coach in the chat saying that this was from a clip when this dude was like a kid, basically. Coach says it was when he was from 17. Bates says, I was watching a different type of film at 17. I agree. The point is that you do some stupid stuff. You say some stupid stuff. And you never know what you're going to evolve into within the course of years, let alone your young adult life. So it's a weird moment for it to come around. Like you said, it's almost like it's Lion season, it's TMZ season, it's drama season. It's anything you can do to chop out the knee from the other guy that may have a little bit of, I was just going to say, like Judy said right here, they're trying to take someone's knees out so that they can, undercut him and get there and just, oh, wow, that's weird. Cool. He fell.
Maybe he's on the board at 23 for the Pac then.
Exactly. So.
And it's, like the article that Ryan read the other day. And listen, I've got a ton of respect for Ryan Schlip. Love what he does. Love the podcast, all that. The Bob McGinn article, my only rebuttal with that is like someone had mentioned, hey, this is what Ryan was talking about on his pod. And I'm like, he's like, where scouts said, something similar to this. I'm like, who were the scouts? Well, we don't know. Gotcha. What team were the scouts from? We don't know that. We know nothing about that. All we know is
Bob was a source close to the situation, Clay.
Right.
God.
And listen, it may be true, but if we're basing, and I'm not saying Ryan's doing this, don't take this the wrong way. If we're basing where we should put somebody on our draft board based off of anonymous sources, we don't know the scouts' names. We don't know their background. The way they talk, I'm just going to be honest with you. I've had the pleasure of personally knowing 4 NFL scouts. They don't talk like that. I'm just telling you, the people I've met, maybe when they're in their own arena, they do, but there's some of those guys, I'm just going to say it, and I like Bob McGinn. What's keeping someone like that from just sitting back and going, I think I'll throw this in the article? That's an anonymous source. Like, I'm just being honest. That's what it sounded like. It's like, how can I make this dicier than it actually is what it feels like to me. But again, that's me speculating on Bob McGinn as well. So it is what it is, right? And maybe he is
the first 19-year-old hotshot receiver that doesn't want to watch tape, right?
Right.
Like, it's kind of, he's a young player. Like we said, it's from his freshman year. You got to think as a guy gets older, he's 22 going on 23 now. He'll be,
he's turning 22 next week, actually.
Okay. So 22 years old next week. Awesome. He's probably on the track now. I bet you he's watching film. I bet you he's studying routes. I bet you he's putting in the extra work now, getting ready to make the turn into the big boy show. It's one thing to be the man in high school and then go to college and, excel. It's another thing to make that step and be a pro. So I think it just comes with growth and maturity.
Yeah. And again, if you're wondering why we're talking about Tet McMillan, many people say there's no way he's going to fall to 23. I don't think he will either. I think this is what Drew said. People were trying to kind of pull him down a little bit so maybe they could get him. But also it depends on where he goes, because if he gets drafted before the Packers, that means someone else is falling to us too, right? It's the same thing with like Tyler Shuck. If we have time, we're going to talk about a little bit of Tyler Shuck. So these things are important in my opinion. And you guys know how I feel. If he were to fall to 23, we have an opportunity to get the 5th best prospect on our board. I'm not saying it's correct and everybody else is wrong. I'm just saying we see him as a top 5 talent. If you're able to get him at 23, you're telling me because when he was 19 years old, he said he didn't like watching film, that we're not going to draft him because of that? Like, we went through the whole Jair history last night. We drafted Jair and he got suspended for the Outback Bowl.
Yep.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we even talking about here? So, anyway, let's get into the injury concerns. So let's see if there's anything here.
Real quick, though, I found the source. Fred McFarley says, my sister's brother's hairdressers met Tet at 31 Flavors last night and said he passed out. Guess it's pretty serious.
Could be a crackhead. They got hold to the wrong stuff.
Thank you.
True. All right, Tet McMillan's full injury history. While McMillan's character concerns appear minimal, his physical durability has occasionally come under scrutiny. Here's a comprehensive look at his injury history based on available reports. Lower leg injury. In the spring of 2024, McMillan underwent a minor procedure on his lower leg before the 2024 season, sidelining him for Arizona's spring game and parts of fall camp. The exact nature of the injury wasn't publicly detailed, possibly a precautionary cleanup or tweak, probably a scope, I imagine, but it raised initial concerns about his availability. He returned to 11-on-11 drills by mid-August wearing a no-contact red jersey and was fully cleared for the season opener against New Mexico, where he posted a school record 304 receiving yards. This suggests the injury had no lasting impact on his junior year performance. No major in-season injuries in 2024. It says across his 3 college seasons, 22 through 24, McMillan has not missed a significant game time due to injury. He played in all 12 games as a freshman, all 13 as a sophomore, and all regular season games in 2024. The exact number depends on Arizona's schedule, typically 12 to 13 games. There are no documented instances of him leaving games early or sitting out due to acute injuries like concussions, sprains, or fractures. General durability notes: at 6'5", we know now at the combine it's 6'4" technically, and 210 to 219 pounds. Weights varied across reports. McMillan's size makes him a physical target, yet he's avoided the injury-prone label. His basketball and volleyball background may contribute to his body control and resilience. That's the big thing that Greg Cosell talked about, was his body control is insane for his size. Analysts have noted he played through minor undisclosed sorenesses in 2024 per speculation from draft scouts, but nothing severe enough to affect his 84 receptions for 1,319 yards last season. Y'all ready for the PFF grades, boys? Look at this. Bang. So in 2022, he was a 66.5. In 2023, he jumped to 87.4. He was the highest graded wide receiver amongst all FBS schools in 2020. He was the best guy around. 2024, his grade was 84.8, making him third best amongst all FBS schools as well. You see where he lines up to. This is interesting. Notice right here. Not only, he's a wide out. Don't get me wrong. He lines up 588 snaps out wide, 117 in the slot. If you don't think for a second that Matt LaFleur would not love to have that dude moving around in his offense as well. So there you go. Character concerns. As a 19-year-old, he said, "Man, I don't like watching film," and then of course his RAS is incomplete, but he's got the physical frame. He ran a 4.5 40. And, of course, the PFF checks out as well. I think this dude's a slam dunk. That's me. It's close. Anybody can be a bust. But I think it's close to a slam dunk you're going to find.
I would agree. I think there's a handful of other receivers you could mention in that crop as far as being worthy of a first-round pick, but not many, I think T-Mac is that dude. Probably the first receiver off the board in the draft.
Yeah.
Just my humble opinion.
Jacob, you got anything, Buck?
Chris the Casual Unseas is a clean prospect. Probably because he washed his hands, washed his butt. I'm just saying. But I agree. As far as being as close to almost a bust-proof type situation, it just seems like this guy, at the very least, his floor of all floors is being like a third-string possession guy. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like there's just it feels like you're going to get at least 5 to 8 years of really good football from this dude.
Yeah. Respect Orange says, quote, "I don't watch film. Film watches me." Tet McMillan.
Dude, the chat was letting some.
This receiving it's tough.
They were watching. What'd you say, Jake?
Did you see it? Respect. I've said the chat's letting some funny zingers go. He says Tet McMillan doesn't replenish the soda.
Always
you got to replenish.
Always replenish.
Prince says he'd be more worried if he said he did like watching film, but it was only the Harry Potter movies. Just saying. Ben was warning us, be careful, guys. All 32 general managers are watching this pod. Fred was talking about how Buckets Goldenberg has a Pulitzer in his future. That's what they say. He went on. Fred says Bob McGinn is no Buckets Goldenberg.
Got that right. You got that right, sir.
Put some respect on his name.
All right. So to wrap that up, there it says. So why the sudden drop in buzz without new incidents or games to judge? It's possible the film watching comment has been amplified by draft season's rumor mill. Teams might be nitpicking intangibles as they finalize boards, but McMillan's tape and history still scream elite potential. His injury history, while featuring one notable scare, shows a player who stayed remarkably durable for a high-volume receiver. For now, the fifth-ranked prospect on our PTA big board remains a tantalizing enigma, possibly a victim of over-analysis rather than a genuine fall from grace. One thing is certain, someone is going to get a damn good football player on April 24th. So, Tet McMillan, any parting thoughts on that? I know we got Emilio joining us now. Whenever he's ready here. You ready, sir?
Yeah.
Get out.
Here's the guy.
We were just talking about Tet McMillan. I don't know how much of that you heard, but
I was listening.
I mean, this dude's squeaky clean. What are we even talking?
Yeah, I mean, the fact, trust me, when I was in high school, I did not want to watch film, man. That thing was the eye in the sky that yelled at you when you when you're not blocking on a play on the backside of a run and you're just kind of sitting there patty caking. You'll hear about it. So, I mean, I get it, but like Tim was saying, I'm sure dude's learned and he's ready to roll. You pick stuff up from film. He's watching, Tay Adams. He's watching different guys' releases. Why wouldn't you want to add that to your repertoire?
Absolutely, man. Completely agree.
Squeaky clean like Emilio fresh out the shower. Am I right?
Squeaky clean.
You're ready to go.
Your cats.
A little creepy there. I ain't gonna lie. All right, let's do this. We don't have enough time to hit that 5 prospects that could be available for Green Bay at 54. So let's do the Tyler Shuck article real quick, and then we'll jump into that in the second hour. That sound good to you guys?
Let's do it.
So Tyler Shuck, why are we talking about him?
Here's the guy.
Greg Cosell said this is his number 2 quarterback in the draft. And he said that as soon as he said it on a Ross Tucker football podcast, Twitter blows up, everything goes crazy. And he said he had several people from within NFL buildings reach out to him immediately and said, you've stood next to him and watched him throw, haven't you? Like, you know exactly what this kid can do. Like, they were hinting at like, hey, trust me, you're on to something there. Right. I think there's a really good shot that Tyler Shuck all of a sudden jumps into the first round in this draft. That's based off of what, like I said, Greg Cosell's saying and what he's hearing. So I said from undrafted to first round buzz, Tyler Shuck's rise in the 2025 NFL draft. This is by Buckets Goldenberg too, but he's been getting too much credit.
He's been tearing it up. I was looking through the Patreon, man. He's been putting in the work.
Hey, dude, he's a hard worker, man. Let me tell you. In January of 2025, Tyler Shuck was a quarterback few NFL draft analysts saw as more than an undrafted free agent. After 7 years across Oregon, Texas Tech, and Louisville, the 25-year-old was overlooked. Now late March rumors have him climbing into the first round. How did this journeyman quarterback become a potential franchise player? Let's explore Shuck's meteoric rise. Winding path to stardom. So you see here, it's showing him injured at Texas Tech, right? It says Shuck's college journey began as a 4-star recruit at Oregon, backing up Justin Herbert before starting in 2020, 1,559 yards and 13 touchdowns. Injuries and competition pushed him to Texas Tech in 2021, but a broken collarbone, re-injury, and a broken fibula limited him to 13 starts over 3 years. With 1 year left, he transferred to Louisville in 2024, and everything changed. The breakout at Louisville says under coach Jeff Brom's pro-style system, Shuck stayed healthy and thrived, throwing for 3,195 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions in 12 games, leading Louisville to an 8-4 record. He averaged 266.3 passing yards per game, second only to Lamar Jackson in program history. His 6'5", 225-pound frame, I'm going to say it again, 6'5", 225, arm strength and quick release shown, especially in play-action heavy schemes. 43% of their snaps was in play action. Pre-draft hype takes off. Shuck's Senior Bowl performance in January turned heads, outshining bigger names with his velocity and poise. A 4.63 40-yard dash and standout combine drills followed, sparking buzz as a potential QB3 behind Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. With 10 pre-draft visits and workouts with teams like the Steelers, Seahawks, and Browns, analysts took notice. ESPN's Louis Riddick raved, quote, "This cat can throw the rock," while NFL Films' Greg Cosell lauded his, quote, pro-ready traits, fueling his first-round speculation. Look at this RAS, guys. So he actually measured in at 6'4", a little less than 6'5". So 6'4", 219 pounds. He ran a 4.63 40. That's Aaron Rodgers 40 is what that is, basically. So RAS is a 9.69 through the freaking roof. The risk, age, and injuries. We talked about age, right? At 25, Shuck will be 26 as a rookie, older than most prospects, yet age isn't a barrier. Bo Nix, drafted 12th overall by the Denver Broncos in 2024. At 24, turned 25 mid-rookie year, has excelled, proving experience can trump youth. Still, critics wonder if Shuck's Louisville success was a veteran exploiting weaker foes. His injury history, 3 season enders at Texas Tech, raises durability flags, though Louisville staff called it, quote, bad luck. Why he's rising. Shuck's size, arm strength, and accuracy fit the NFL mold, and his adaptability across spread and pro-style systems adds appeal. In a thin quarterback class, his upside and polish stands out for teams like Pittsburgh needing a developmental arm or Seattle seeking competition. He's a day one option. Projection, first or second round. Some mocks slot Shuck in rounds 2 to 3, but first round chatter grows. A late first, 25 to 32, is possible if a quarterback needy team buys in, though early second round feels safer. Either way, he's no longer an afterthought. So look at the PFF growth here, all right? Just going from 2018 to 2024, 60.1, 68.5, 61.5, 76.9, 74.1, 65.2, and then at Louisville last year, 87.4. So he talks all the time. Greg Cosell talks about a player ascending as they approach the NFL. This is the definition of it right here, man. So conclusion says Tyler Shuck's leap from undrafted to first-round buzz reflects resilience and timing. A breakout year and strong pre-draft showings have flipped the script, making him one of 2025's NFL Draft's most intriguing stories. Whether he lands day 1 or 2, Shuck proves potential can emerge when least expected. What's your all's take on Tyler Shuck? We'll start with you, Emilio, since you just jumped in, man. Do you think this is all BS, or do you think there's a chance he goes in the first round?
I mean, I think there's a chance of he's also the one. I think he's the one with 4 degrees. Smart, heady kid. The fact that he's got the body type for it, he's got the arm. If people are calling Greg Cosell, if people are asking DJ these questions, someone's thinking about it, right? But I think who started here? Whoever started here, H.E. Soder. Is this really about show or more about the lack of QB in the draft? I think. From what DJ was saying, there's really only, I mean, the draft starts at like the 5th quarterback from last year. So like that's where the talent's starting. I mean, you always need a quarterback, or you're always going to try to find that winner, or the franchise quarterback. You're always going to take the shot if it's open. I mean, if he's there, you gotta think about it.
Yeah. Yep. I'll be honest, I don't get the Tyler Shuck thing. One, because that's not how you say Shuck. I seen that name, and that does not equal Shuck. All right, I'm just saying that's not a thing. 2, I mean, look at this is way too long. It's like Van Wilder. This guy's been in college for so long. 3,
I love that people said the same thing about Bo Nix. I love it, man.
Well, yeah, I mean that's fine, but I just it's a little bit weird concerning because you talked about progression, and I understand that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you got your Cam Wards and you got Shador, but I look at a guy like Jalen Monroe, who to me, I mean, obviously 2022 didn't look great, but he graded out very, very well. Almost 90s the last 2 years. Willa Howard, 75, 78, 86. Riley Leonard, 77, 75, 83. Jackson Dart, 79, 91, 92. Dylan Gabriel, 87, 91, 86. You can go on and on and on. Tyler Shuck has by far the least impressive grades out of the top like 7 to 8 quarterbacks that I can see it listed on even I would argue he's probably the least talented one out of the first 10 to 12 as far as just the grades, which obviously isn't everything.
You talking about the 87.4?
Yeah, I'm talking for the conglomerate though over his 3-year span. Over the last 3-year span. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now notice in 23 he's not ranked, 21 he's not ranked, 19 he's not ranked, 18 he's not ranked because of injuries. So
right. Yep.
Keep that in mind.
Sure.
Which to me is the most important thing with him. The guy's riddled with injury history, and it's a huge question mark, especially considering the fact that he's 26. He's not 21.
Good point.
Yeah. That's more what I was trying to round out. Thank you, Tim. Is that was kind of – I think that 6'5", 225, though, running a 4.6, that's going to help. You know what I mean? That just right there's catapults him to where
the only one at 6'5", Jacob. I mean, some of those guys were 6 foot. Dylan Gabriel's 6 foot. The other guys around 6'2". So I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
always can have the frame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that just being said, I don't quite understand him reaching up to the 2nd or the 3rd quarterback, but I could see him in the 2nd or 3rd round.
If it had been anybody other than Greg Cosell that said it, Tim, I'd have probably been right there with Jacob. But hearing Greg Cosell talk about it was like, this kid, boy, when you stand next to him and watch him throw a football, and like Jacob, you said it specifically, and you did a good job noting it. We're talking grades, right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about numbers on a paper. We haven't seen him throw. We haven't seen, people are looking for a pro style quarterback. They ran play action 46% of the time. That could be huge in like a Shanahan style offense. He's got the mobility to get on the edge off a boot if you want to run a wide zone boot scheme with a 4.6 40. There's a lot to like here, but like both of you said, man, the injuries are scary. They really are.
Look at
Go ahead, Jacob.
Sorry, interesting comment here from Larry Cano, who always brings the thunder. He says Jeff Brom, coach of Louisville, is the brother of Brian Brom, if you remember him, Packers 2nd round draft pick, quarterback in the 2008 draft. Brian is the current offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach at Louisville. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, Brian Brom was the guy that we took in the 2nd round when Aaron Rodgers was named the starting quarterback.
Yep.
And I love how they think there's absolutely no chance we could take a quarterback with Jordan Love at quarterback. It's like, oh no, you'd never. Okay, I'm just saying. They thought they may have something there, Tim, with Brian Brom. Obviously, they were wrong. And I ain't gonna lie, man. Once he left Green Bay, I was rooting for his demise because he was a pain in our ass for a University of Kentucky fan. We had to play them once a year. Brian Brown made me mad. So go ahead, Tim. What do you think about Tyler Shough? And anything else you want to add to this?
I was just finding my notes here from the Senior Bowl, and I had a short list of quarterbacks that I highlighted. I had Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, and Tyler Shough. And I've been a big Jackson Dart believer for a long part of this, whatever you want to call it, scouting process, draft process. Tyler Shough is creeping up the board, at least in my opinion. And age and injury be damned, you got to look at a thin quarterback draft class and, kind of like the report said, right? Buckets Goldenberg hit it on the head. If you're a quarterback hungry team, you might take a flyer on a guy like Tyler Shough. And you might do it at the end of the first round or early second round, possibly, believe it or not. So I think anything's possible. Really, really do.
Jake Shabink hits the nail on the head, and this is something else that Greg Cosell and Ross Tucker talked about. It only takes one team to go. That's our dude, and now boom, he's a first round pick. Yeah. So you guys have heard us say this all year when we would start to talk draft. We would say there's 2 drafts every year, every April. Yeah. Quarterback draft and everybody else, right? The NFL draft and the quarterback draft. This is what we're talking about. Me and Jake have talked about it countless times on Twitter about how it's like no matter what happens, you will always see teams talk themselves into multiple quarterbacks sliding into the first round because if you get it right, you're set. But it is like we had said before, man. It's a tale as old as time for sure. So, Emilio, you're such a smart ass. Anything else you guys got to add to Tyler Shough? And again, the reason we wanted to talk about this is because this is what's going to shape up that first round. And H.E. Solder hit the nail on the head earlier. Hope he goes before pick 23. That would be absolutely awesome. So every time I see y'all laugh, I can't help but look at you.
I'm laughing at Bates' response to Emilio. Oh,
all right, let's see. We got Daryl chiming in here. Oh man, another QB, 3 question marks. My man is fired up tonight. Seriously, Clay, 3 question marks. Man.
I think there's a difference between being fired up and lit up. I think he's a little lit up. A little bit.
Seriously, Clay, let's talk about Max Crosby.
And with that being said, that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we'll see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate y'all.